Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 43 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a good New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's Eve. Can you believe it? We made it to 2026. Man, I hope everyone's doing okay. I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope that this show provides at least a brief respite from whatever you're going through in life. I will do one show today. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time, but I wanted to do one show, one more show before the new year, and then I will be back sometime next week. Um, to do another one. So I'm very excited about that. I hope you guys are too. Before I get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. I'd love to gain more of a community here. Also, if you have a comment or a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started today with this. So one of my favorite directors right now, and quite honestly, a director who has been, um, quite frankly, knocking it out of the park uh, lately, is Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler directed, I believe his first feature film was Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan. And then he did, Fruitvale Station is incredible. And then he did Creed, which that movie had no business being as good as it was. That movie's great, to be honest with you. And Sylvester Stallone may or may not have actually deserved that Oscar for supporting actor. Creed is great, and then Ryan Coogler did the first two. Well, he did the first Black Panther movie, which is awesome, and then he did what was after Black Panther. I want to make sure I get his filmography correct in terms of timeline. I'm kind of a stickler about that. Um, Let me see here. So yeah, so okay, so he did the the first two Black Panthers. The first Black Panther is awesome. Certainly deserves um, certainly deserved that Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. Black Panther 2 I loved as well. It was one of my, even though, look, I don't believe that a sequel needs to be as good or better than its predecessor. Just make a good movie. I There's this term I like to use called sequelitis, where you know, I'm kind of going off here, but like, people think that a sequel needs to be as good or better than its predecessor, and it doesn't. It just needs to be a good movie. And Black Panther 2 was exactly that. Black Panther Wakanda Forever was one of my top 5 movies of that year. I don't think it was as good as the first one. Not that that's terribly important. Um, but Black Panther 2 was I thought was great. Um, and it was certainly uh, one of the more emotional movie going experiences that I've had, given the given the circumstances around which that movie was made. You know, it was just a beautiful it was a beautiful love letter to Chadwick Boseman, but at the same time, it was also a great movie. It stood on its own without being hampered down by the circumstances surrounding that movie. Black Panther, both Black Panther movies to me are great. And then later this year, Ryan Coogler directed this movie called Sinners, which, oh my God, is fucking awesome. Sinners is awesome. Um, it's this if you haven't seen it, first of all, why the hell not? Second of all, Sinners is it's this allegorical horror vampire movie that's set in the antebellum South, and it's an allegorical horror movie about um, uh, the appropriation of black culture by the white man, by white people, and it's great, and I loved it, and I can say this with utmost certainty that Sinners will be in my top 5 movies of the year. It's great. So director Ryan Coogler has just been his filmography as a director is sparkling, to say the least. And I'm a big fan of him. And he has just confirmed what his next movie will be. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Steve Saig. And a little ways down here, while this article says, while speaking to an eager crowd at Deadline's Contenders Film Los Angeles event, Ryan Coogler confirmed that Marvel and Disney's Black Panther 3 is his next movie. So yeah, Black Panther 3 is up next for Ryan Coogler. Look, I love this. I love when I'm kind of indifferent about this. Not about Ryan Coogler directing Black Panther 3. But I love when directors get to complete the trilogy, a trilogy. Sometimes they have different directors come in to do the next 2 chapters of a movie. But and that's fine, and more often than not it works out. But when you have, I personally love when a director gets to complete a trilogy that they started. And Ryan Coogler is clearly operating at the peak of his powers right now. I mean, it was Sinners was just he had the full creative freedom to, because of the success of the Black Panther movies. He had the full creative freedom to make the kind of movie, the exact kind of movie that he wanted to make, and that's exactly what Sinners was. And I have no doubt that Black Panther 3 is going to be awesome. Is going to be awesome. I wonder what the story is going to be. Like, is Shuri, I wonder, like T'Challa's sister Shuri. It'll be cool to see her embrace the Black Panther character fully. So that'll be really cool to see. Man, I can't wait for this. Again, Ryan Coogler is at the top of his game, and he always has been. He's an incredible filmmaker, and I'm so excited that Black Panther 3 is going to be his next movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Black Panther 3 being Ryan Coogler's next film. Okay, so this next bit of news, a few episodes ago, I talked about this upcoming military drama movie that's going to be directed by Ron Howard called Alone at Dawn. And there's been some casting news regarding that movie. This article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. And this article says, Betty Gilpin from Death by Lightning has signed on to star alongside Adam Driver and Anne Hathaway in Alone at Dawn, director Ron Howard's Amazon MGM military drama based on the 2019 book by Dan Schilling and Lori Longfritz. This article does point out, hold on just a second. This article does point out that there's no word yet on the role that Betty Gilpin will play. So I'm not too familiar. I've seen a little bit of Betty Gilpin's work. She was on that Netflix. She's currently on the Netflix series Death by Lightning, but she was also on another series on Netflix called Glow. She's going to be in the Social Reckoning, which is kind of the companion piece to the Social Network. She was in The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt. And then she was in that movie, The Hunt, which came out in 2020. So I've seen bits and pieces of her work, but I think she's a solid actress, and unfortunately there's not much to go on here in terms of who she's going to be playing. But more casting news means that this movie is going to start filming soon, so that's exciting. And hopefully, the Tomorrow War, I heard, isn't that good. The Hunt was surrounded by controversy. And as much as I love Ron Howard as a filmmaker, he kind of needs a hit right now, and hopefully this project and Betty Gilpin being on board, hopefully this will elevate her. Hopefully people will know her name even more than they already do after this movie. I would like to see her. I would like to see more of her. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, more casting news means they're going to be filming soon. I love Ron Howard as a filmmaker. I like Betty Gilpin as an actress. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your quick thoughts are on Betty Gilpin joining Alone at Dawn. So this next bit of news here is interesting. So, not too long ago, one of the greatest actresses of our time, Diane Keaton, passed away, and it was very shocking and sad, and there was a movie that she was in, which I have not seen. that I have heard I've heard it's decent. I've heard it's fine, and it's called The Family Stone, and it has Craig T. Nelson in it. Um, it's one of the few. It has Sarah Jessica Parker and Rachel McAdams, and I think um, Dermot Mulroney. Yeah, Claire Danes is in it. But it's one of the few movies that has Diane Keaton in it that I haven't seen. I would like to watch it, The Family Stone. Um, but some interesting news has come to light regarding that movie. Um, this article is on CBR, published by Carly Tennis. Um, and a little ways down here in this article, it says weeks after the 79-year-old actress passed away on October 11th, director Thomas Bazooka opened up about revisiting his 2004 classic, revealing that he had been working on a follow-up to The Family Stone even before Diane Keaton's death last month. Let me see here. And a little ways down here in this article, it says even though Diane Keaton's death amplified Bazooka's emotions surrounding the project, the director explained that the loss of his former colleague inspired him not only to honor her even more with a sequel to the beloved holiday dramedy, but to also do a good job by the rest of the cast, especially as reuniting the original Stones served as a key element of his decision to pursue the project. Let me see here. Now, to be clear, this article does point out that the director has said he has yet to provide a final script for a sequel, nor has the project earned a formal green light from Disney, the parent company of the Family Stone's original production company, 20th Century Fox. Early inquiries into a possible cast reunion, however, have apparently gone well. Yeah, Luke Wilson is in it. You know, this is interesting to me. Because I've heard the movie wasn't very good, but it made a lot of money. And, it has Diane Keaton in it. So for me personally, it has my attention. Like I want to watch it because she's in it. But it's interesting to me, and I'm conflicted about this because how do you do a sequel without Diane Keaton? And look, I haven't seen The Family Stone, so I know nothing about the movie. However, I don't know how you do a sequel without Diane Keaton. Like I said, I've heard the movie is decent, but it made a lot of money, so it's obviously financially successful. Now, that being said, I like the fact that the director of the original has said, look, the death of Diane Keaton, like he was working on a sequel before she died, and now that like it's really clear that he wants to honor the character that she played in the original movie with this sequel. Like these characters are very important to the filmmaker, And he wants to the director wants to honor these characters, and I like that. I think if we were hearing that, oh, the studio wants to do a sequel to The Family Stone, like to me this sounds like, oh, the filmmaker has the idea for a sequel and he pitched it to the studio. I think if it were another way around, if it were the other way around and the studio was like, hey, remember that movie that we did 20 years ago, let's do a sequel, I think if it were the other way around I'd be a little worried. But the fact that the uh, director of the original has an idea for a sequel, and the death of Diane Keaton um, affected him. Um, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. Thomas Bazooka. Um, the death of Diane Keaton affected him greatly. I think I think if this sequel happens, that it seems like he's going to take great care with these characters, and specifically with the character that Diane Keaton played with this movie, and I think that's the key thing. Um, you want to honor Diane Keaton, and you want to honor these characters, and maybe it'll get made. You know, I would like to watch it. Um, I've seen the trailers for it, and it looked entertaining. You know, but I think that's the key: is that the filmmaker has an idea. The death of Diane Keaton affected him greatly, and he wants to honor her character and the rest of these characters. That's the key, at least for me personally. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's a good movie. It'll be interesting to see what the story is of this potential film, and how Diane Keaton's character is honored in that movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on a sequel to The Family Stone. Okay, so this next bit of news, it regards more casting news from a few episodes. A few episodes back, I talked about this movie that Paul Dano is going to star in, um, called The Chaperones, which centers on a drug dealer and his two friends who are hired to transport this teenager across the country. And it has David Johnson and Cooper Hoffman in it. And there's been some more casting news regarding that movie. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Boris Kitt. And this article says Danielle Deadwyler, Billy Barat, Alfred Molina, Tim Meadows, and Dolly De Leon have joined the cast of the A24 drama The Chaperones. Let me see here. So Billy Barat will be playing the teen who needs to be chaperoned. And Danielle Deadwyler is playing David Johnson's sister. Alfred Molina will be playing Cooper Hoffman's boss. So that's interesting. Cooper Hoffman will be playing. There's character details here. Cooper Hoffman will be playing one of the chaperones. So yeah. So this is interesting. This cast is shaping up really nice for me. Look, I like Danielle Deadwyler. I'm not the biggest fan of Tim Meadows. You know, I think he's one of these guys that his comedy is kind of hit and miss. For me personally. for me though, in regards to this casting news, for me the standout is Alfred Molina. I love Alfred Molina. I'm a big fan. He obviously played Dr. Otto Octavius, Doc Ock in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and then he was great when he returned for Spider-Man No Way Home. And he was in this movie called Identity, which was directed by James Mangold. I believe he played the therapist in that movie. And he was in Frida with Salma Hayek, and he was great in that. I'm a big fan of him. So this cast is shaping up really, really nicely, and I'm really looking forward to this. Again, a couple standouts here: Daniel Deadwyler, Alfred Molina, Tim Meadows, and this sounds really like it could be really funny and this sounds really, really good. So again, more casting news means they're going to start filming soon. This cast is great. I'm a big fan, and I love Paul Dano. Paul Dano is one of my favorite actors. So jump in the comment section and let me know your quick thoughts on this casting news regarding The Chaperones and Alfred Molina being in it and Daniel Deadwyler. Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. All right, so this next bit of news, I'm not sure what to think about this. Okay, so I talked last episode about how much I'm a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I grew up with the 90s cartoon, and then I talked all about it in last episode. So for those who don't know, there was going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles R-rated adaptation of The Last Ronin, which, like, when I heard that, my jaw dropped. Like, I was like, holy shit. Like, they're really going to go there. And that, again, talking about what I talked about last episode, the Ninja Turtles in the comics are very different from what they were in the 90s cartoon. Like, the Ninja Turtles in the comics were darker, and they were very violent, and The Last Ronin, I mean, it goes there, man. Like, it goes hard, and I couldn't believe it's one of those, like, when I heard that they were going to an R-rated adaptation of The Last Ronin was going to be adapted into a movie, I was like, well, this is too good to be true. Like, I can't fucking believe it. And it was in development for a long time. It was in what they refer to as development hell, which is they were trying to get it off the ground with various creative people involved, and it ended up they were just having trouble getting it off the ground. Excuse me. And so there's a bit of news here regarding there's some news here in this article regarding the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. And this article is on CBR, published by Tim Adams. And so basically, that adaptation of the Last Ronin comic has been scrapped. It's no longer, it's dead. And I'm so disappointed. I just, like, why do you have to, like, come on. I think as if you are a diehard Ninja Turtles fan, you really wanted to see this. And this sucks. This sucks. You know, and I you know, I said it was, you know, when I heard the news that they were going to do it, I was like, this is too good to be true. And it turns out it was, you know. Now, if that doesn't suck enough, um, there, I'm trying to find the right words here. I apologize. So, the plans for the Last Ronin movie have been scrapped because, and again, this article is on CBR by Tim Adams. This article does say that, per the Hollywood Reporter, Paramount Pictures is in negotiations with producer Neil H. Moritz to helm a live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So, in other words, this R-rated Last Ronin movie is being scrapped in favor of reinventing the Ninja Turtles and doing another live-action Ninja Turtles movie. This will not be a continuation of the animated Mutant Mayhem and that film and TV series Tales of the Ninja Turtles. This will not be a continuation of that. It'll be its own separate thing. Again, The Last Ronin has been scrapped in favor of doing a live action Ninja Turtles movie. I have heard rumors that this live action Ninja Turtles movie, this new one, is going to be more family friendly. And I think I speak for every diehard Ninja Turtles fan when I say, what in the actual fuck are you doing? What the fuck? Like, you guys do understand that the family-friendly stuff, that's not how it was in the comics, right? You know, go back and read the comics and make a movie like that, because we all want that. Look, the 90s live-action Ninja Turtles, they're fun, they're entertaining, and they were great for the time. But those movies came out when movies based on comic books weren't really a thing yet. And people in the industry weren't, comic book movies weren't what they are now. And it makes me sad that they're scrapping this R-rated Last Ronin adaptation in favor of doing a more family-friendly Ninja Turtles movie. I'll see it. I hope it's good. I just want a good Ninja Turtles movie. But, and look, I also understand with an R-rated movie, you're only going to appeal to a certain kind of audience. especially if it's an R-rated comic book movie based on a comic book. If it's an R-rated Ninja Turtles movie, you're only going to get so many butts in the seats. I get that, but as a huge Ninja Turtles fan, this sucks. Now, if you went more of the route, there was that, like I said in the last episode, there was in 2014 they did the CGI live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then there was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out of the Shadows. If they went more that route in terms of the tone and the characters, just make the stories better. If they went more that route, I'd be all for it. But I question this move. I can tell you what I don't want, because I don't think it would work. I don't want another. I don't want the kind of live action Ninja Turtles movie that came out in the 90s. Those live action movies. I don't want that tone wise. I don't that kind of family friendly. I don't want that. But we'll see. I mean, this kind of blows, to be honest. But we'll see what happens. I mean, and look, Neil H. Moritz, who's the producer at Paramount, was an executive producer on the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and those movies are pretty fucking good. I mean, he was also a producer on the Fast and Furious movies, which those last couple of movies kind of went downhill, if you ask me. So we'll see what happens. I mean, this is kind of it kind of bums me out, but we'll see, I guess. We'll see. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this piece of Ninja Turtles movie news. All right, so moving on here. If it will let me. Here we go. Okay, so one of the movies that I've been talking about in the past few weeks a lot is this Beatles biopic movie directed by Sam Mendes. And I think the title is The Beatles, a 4-film cinematic event. That's the official title. I think it's going to be stellar. I think these movies are going to be great. And I love Sam Mendes as a director, and the cast is shaping up the cast is great for this movie. And it looks like there's been more casting news regarding The Beatles, a 4-film cinematic event. This article is on Variety, published by Alex Rittman. This article says Harry Lloyd, the British actor best known for playing. Okay, I'm gonna butcher this name unintentionally because I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so forgive me. So Harry Lloyd is best known for playing Viserys Targaryen in the first season of Game of Thrones. He is set to portray George Martin in the upcoming 4-part Beatles biopic by director Sam Mendes. So, for those who don't know, George Martin was the producer for the Beatles music. S- So okay, so I haven't seen Game of Thrones, and I know you can come at me later. I know I have so much to watch. Anyway, so, but Harry Lloyd is going to play uh, George Martin, who was the producer of for the Beatles music. This this cast is shaping up really nicely, and it looks like, as far as the story goes, this is going to be a, like, when they say it's a 4 film cinematic event, this sounds like it really is going to be, because it looks like, from a story wise, Sam Mendes is going to be telling a very intricately detailed story of how all four members of the Beatles came together to form the Beatles, and and the subsequent massive success of Beatlemania. It's going to be a very detailed, intricately detailed story, and it should be, because sadly there are people who don't know every who don't know the details of how the Beatles came together. And you know, they've cast Saoirse Ronan in this movie as, I believe, let me see here. Um, Saoirse Ronan, I believe, is going to play Paul McCartney's wife. So I mean, this is going to be a very detailed story of how all four members came together. And for someone for people who don't know the story of the Beatles, like, for me personally, this is going to be, and I've said this before, but this is going to be a movie that I go to see to learn new things, to learn about something that I had no previous knowledge of before. And I love that. And it really, and it's this is going to sound like a no duh kind of statement, but you know, I love that Sam Mendes and the writers are really doing their research, and uh, um, doing their homework how how all these people came together. And I think this is going to be stellar. I really do. I think, again, and I've said this before, I hope people show up to this. I hope people show up to see this. You know, but so far the cast, I think this is going to be incredible. I really, really do. Um, I need to watch Game of Thrones. I know. Now it does say so. Um, so for those who don't know, this article does go into detail. So George Martin uh, was commonly referred to as the fifth Beatle for his extensive involvement in each of the band's original albums. He wrote most of the orchestral and string arrangements, and also played piano or keyboards on a number of their tracks. Once described as the world's most famous record producer, across a 60-year career, Martin produced 30 number one hit singles in the United Kingdom and 23 in the U.S., winning 6 Grammys. He passed away in 2016 at the age of 90. So Harry Lloyd was also in Legion, and he is going to star in the 6th season of Slow Horses, the TV series with Gary Oldman. So even now, just reading that article, like I didn't know that. I didn't know that about George Martin. But I'm really looking forward to this. I hope people show up to this. I think these movies are going to be incredible. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this bit of casting news regarding the Beatles, a 4-film cinematic event. Okay, so there's a bit of sad news that I wanted to talk about. So back on November 23rd, so there was a German actor by the name of Udo Kier. And he was a veteran of like more than 200 films. He'd been in over 200 films. I certainly haven't seen them all. But he was in movies like My Own Private Idaho. He was in Flesh for Frankenstein in 1973. He was in Blood for Dracula in 1974. He was in a few movies in the 90s. He was in the first Ace Ventura movie. He played Ronald Camp. And then he was in what else was he in? Let me see here. Oh, he was in Armageddon. He played the therapist in Armageddon. There's that sequence where the drill team has to get tested to make sure that they can get medically cleared to go to outer space. And there's that sequence where all the drill team has to, they go through all sorts of tests, and you see Steve Buscemi go through the ink blot test, and there's that test where one of them was the ball is going back and forth, and Udo Kier played the therapist, giving the tests, and I think for me, I loved him in the first Blade movie. He played Dragonetti in the first Blade movie, and he had that glorious death scene in the first Blade where the sun rises and he just explodes from inside, and it's what a glorious death scene. And on back on November 23rd, he died, and he was 81. And Udo Kier, I mean, he like I said, he just, I think, I certainly haven't seen every movie that he's been in, but I mean, he did movies with Andy Warhol. I mean, he was just all over the place, and it was always it was interesting because the first movie I saw him in was Blade, and then if I saw him in another movie, I'd be like, "Oh, that's the guy from Blade. That's fucking Dragonetti from Blade, Udo Kier." But he was a wonderful kind of character actor. And he kind of made a name for himself being in a lot of horror movies. Um, those two movies that I mentioned that he did in the 70s, that's what made him famous. But he was all over the place, and it was such a joy to see him. So I just wanted to say a few words about Udo Kier, and the first Blade movie was one of, I think that was one of the first movies uh, that I watched constantly on cable. Remember cable, kids? Um, it was on Encore all the time, like almost on a loop. And I would watch Blade all the time, and I know that movie backwards and forwards. And again, Udo Kier, that phenomenal. It's just phenomenal death scene. But he was. It was always a pleasure to see him pop up in whatever he was in. And I just want to say a few words about Udo Kier. Um, and it's very sad. It's very sad. Um, let's move on here. A couple more pieces of news. Um, okay, so I'm going to deliver right now what I guess the kids these days are calling a hot take. I am, if you don't know, you should know. I am a massive Star Wars fan. I am a Star Wars fanatic. Um, Especially with the original trilogy. Like every movie buff has their favorite franchise, right? Star Wars is mine. Um, I I love the original trilogy. Um, I think um, I think there are flaws in both the prequel and the sequel trilogy. Um, it's funny because um, I often get asked what I thought of the sequel trilogy. And I say I feel the same way about the sequel trilogy that I do about the prequel trilogy. There's a couple movies that I enjoy, and one that I don't. Um, the Phantom Menace is terrible. It's terrible, and it was funny because I defended the Phantom Menace for 15 years, and then I actually had a one-on-one debate on camera with someone at film school about the Phantom Menace, and that really opened my eyes to and made me realize how terrible that movie is. And I like Attack of the Clones. I will defend the people make fun of this, and I hate it. I'll defend Attack of the Clones, especially the whole I don't like sand thing. I mean, look, okay, honestly, Anakin talking to Padme about how much he doesn't like sand. Okay, I'm speaking to my male viewers out there. Can you honestly tell me that the first conversation that you ever had with a girl was less awkward than saying I don't like sand? Like your first serious conversation as a teenager with a teenage girl, I guarantee you was just as awkward as Anakin talking to Padme about sand. And if it wasn't, you're a fucking liar. Because I guarantee you, your first conversation was cringeworthy. I like Attack of the Clones. I think it's. I think Attack of the Clones, in terms of the love story, was ahead of its time. I think Attack of the Clones did the young adult thing before young adult movies were a thing. um, and I like Attack of the Clones. I loved Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is awesome. Um, and so, like I said, and I feel the same way about the sequel trilogy. There's two that I enjoy and one that I don't. I hated Rise of Skywalker. I hated it. For many reasons that I won't go into. I really, really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I'll get to The Last Jedi in a minute. But before I do, I just want to say that I loved Rogue One, which is interesting because I hated it the first time. I don't know why I hated it. I do know why I hated it. There was a novel that came out that took place prior to the events of Rogue One, and I read that. And then the Rogue One movie wasn't solely about the characters in the novel, and that disappointed me. But then I saw the movie for what it was, and I loved it. And I love Rogue One. Rogue One to me is like, it's like the Dirty Dozen of Star Wars. It's great. And what else was there? Oh yeah, I mean, I saw Rogue One twice. I saw it once before Carrie Fisher died. And then the second time I saw it, I remember walking out. I remember, and then the second time I watched it was after she died. And then, I enjoyed the Han Solo movie. I enjoyed it. I think Ron Howard. Anybody who knows I won't go into detail about it, but Ron Howard stepped in to complete the movie as a director, and he saved that movie. Ron Howard saved that movie. And I liked it. I still don't know. I need to watch it again because I still don't know what the hell the Kessel Run is. But I liked it. And I've enjoyed, for the most part, all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows. The only one that I didn't really care for was the Book of Boba Fett. The best episodes of Book of Boba Fett were the ones where Boba Fett wasn't even in it, and I'm like, what the hell is this? But anyway, okay, so The Last Jedi. Here is my hot take on The Last Jedi. I love it. I love The Last Jedi. I will never understand the hatred for that movie. I don't get it. Like, they didn't give you... Okay, so they didn't give you the Luke Skywalker that you wanted, and that's why you hate it? Like, you have all this anticipation and expectation. So you anticipated and expected Luke Skywalker to kick ass in a Star Wars sequel movie. That's your own damn fault. They literally, in The Force Awakens, they say Luke Skywalker has disappeared. And um, you know, they literally put it in the trailers for The Last Jedi. Like, this is not going to go the way you think. And I love The Last Jedi. I love the fact that mostly I love The Last Jedi because of what of um of of how the character of Luke was treated. I love it because from Luke's perspective, and I'm sorry, he's not wrong. From Luke's perspective, anytime the Jedi get involved in anything, it all goes to shit. And he's not wrong. And I love the fact that Yoda shows up and whacks him upside the head and tells him, "You didn't listen to a damn word I told you. You haven't learned anything. You know, you can learn from failure." Um and you know, then um at the climax of the movie, Luke shows up and does the most badass Jedi thing ever. He uses the Force for what Yoda taught him to use it for. He uses it for knowledge and defense. Luke Skywalker uses the Force to project himself across the galaxy to distract Kylo Ren so that the Resistance can escape. He doesn't use the Force for attack. He uses it for defense. And it's the most badass Jedi thing ever. And the way Luke Skywalker dies in that movie, mostly I love The Last Jedi because of how Luke Skywalker was treated. I dearly love it, and I think it's a very fine performance from Mark Hamill, and I know that he disagrees with how Luke Skywalker was treated, but he said that he fundamentally disagrees with Luke Skywalker, with how Luke Skywalker is written in that movie, but he also said, he's like, look, he told director Rian Johnson, look, I may disagree with you, but I'm going to do everything in my power to give you the best performance that I can with what you want. And he did, and it's a very fine performance. And I love, and everybody criticizes, the whole almost killing Ben Solo in the middle of the night thing. And I'm like, look, you have to remember what Yoda said to him in Return of the Jedi. Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. And Luke nearly killing Ben Solo in the middle of the night is exactly what happened with Luke and Vader in Return of the Jedi. Luke nearly killed him, nearly killed Vader, but he stopped himself because he knew it was wrong. And he did the same thing with Ben Solo. He stopped himself, he knew it was wrong, and he was filled with shame for that one ever so fleeting moment of darkness. So I love The Last Jedi. And I'll never understand, but it's no secret that movie divided fans. Which sucks. And I think in a lot of, for whatever reason, um, people have now had this personal vendetta against director Rian Johnson for quote unquote ruining Star Wars. And I'm like, fuck off. But anyway, so I love The Last Jedi. And for those who don't know, for a while, Rian Johnson was going to be doing his own Star Wars trilogy. I don't know what it was going to be about, but he was going to do he was going to do a Star Wars trilogy of his own, which I think again divided fans. But for me personally, I'm like, bring it. Like, I want to see it. Like, if it's anything like what you did with The Last Jedi, it's going to be a fucking masterpiece. And that, because of other projects that Rian Johnson has done, the Knives Out movies, those movies are awesome. Those movies are so good. The Star Wars trilogy that Rian Johnson was going to do had because of other projects that Rian Johnson was involved with, his Star Wars trilogy got kind of put on the back burner and has been in development for quite a while. And there's been some, at least for me, there's been some disappointing news regarding Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. This report is on Screen Rant, published by Ryan Northrop. This article says Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is no more, according to a new report. The project was announced not long after the release of Johnson's divisive entry in the franchise, 2017's Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Though Johnson himself doesn't confirm the news regarding his announced trilogy, The Hollywood Reporter calls the project quote-unquote effectively dead in a new interview with The Last Jedi filmmaker. Let me see here. So, it kind of so basically Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is not happening anymore. And I will say this. Considering how long it's been in development, this article says this trilogy has been in development since the release of The Last Jedi. I will say that considering how long it's been in development, this isn't necessarily surprising. It does suck. For me, personally. I'm not going to speak for anybody who hates The Last Jedi. Whatever. For me, personally, this kind of bums me out. It bums me out quite a lot, actually, because I love The Last Jedi so much. There was something I was going to say, but I can't remember. Don't get old, folks. Don't get old. If I can try to look at this objectively and go, okay, The Last Jedi was pretty divisive. Very divisive. I can try to look at this objectively and say, well, it's probably a good idea that this Star Wars trilogy is dead, considering how divisive The Last Jedi was, because you don't want to divide the fans even more by having the director of The Last Jedi do 3 more Star Wars movies. I can try to look at that objectively and go, yeah, okay, I can kind of, you don't want to divide the fans even more. But for me personally, what I thought Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi, he made, when I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant because he made a great movie first and a great Star Wars movie second. His objective was to tell a great story, and that story just so happened to be a Star Wars story, a Star Wars movie. I don't know if that made any sense, but like, he told the story that he wanted to tell. And a lot of people love it, and a lot of people hate it. For me personally, and again, I can, if I look at it objectively, I can go, yeah, this is probably a good idea considering how divisive The Last Jedi was. But for me personally, this sucks. Because I loved what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. And look, I'll say this too. That sequence towards the climax of The Last Jedi, where Luke walks out and he's confronting the entirety of the First Order, and the walkers are blasting at him, and he just, shrugs it off. Look, I am not a religious person at all. That's as close to a religious experience as I'm ever gonna get. That was a truly enlightening moment. The Last Jedi is a beautiful film, and I don't know what else to say about it. For me personally, this sucks because I love what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. I love what he did with Star Wars. And I was really looking forward to seeing him do more in that canvas, in the galaxy far, far away. But if I can try to look at this objectively, I can go, oh, okay, it's probably a good idea that this isn't happening. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for loving The Last Jedi, because I guess that's how people react now. People say, it's so weird to me. Like nowadays, you have conversations with people and you go, "Oh, you like this movie or you like that book? Well, fuck you," And it's so weird to me. Like we can't have conversations anymore about why you like this movie or why you like that book. You can't even have intelligent conversations. It's more of a, oh, you like that? Well, fuck you. And it's so strange to me. So anyway, so I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for loving The Last Jedi, but I don't care. So anyway, so for me personally, the fact that Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is dead, it kind of sucks. But if, again, objectively, I can kind of, yeah, it's probably a good idea. So anyway, a couple more bits of news here. Um, so it looks so. I'm trying to put my words together. Sorry. Um, so there's a woman by the name of Barbara Broccoli who is now the former um, producer of the James Bond franchise. Um, is moving on to her next uh, film venture. And it sounds really interesting. This article is on Variety, published by Nick Vivarelli. Uh, this article says Barbara Broccoli's Eon Productions, the former producer of the James Bond franchise, and Qatar's newly launched film committee are jointly producing a film adaptation of William Shakespeare's Othello, directed and starring David Oyelowo, and also featuring Rachel Brosnahan and Cynthia Erivo. The film, which marks Broccoli's first project since the sale of Bond rights to Amazon MGM, will be shot in the Qatari capital of Doha. It is an adaptation of the Othello play production that first ran at the New York Theater Workshop in 2016, directed by Sam Gold. Let me see here. So this article does go on to say that David Oyelowo will be directing and returning as Othello. Rachel Brosnahan will be reprising the role of Desdemona, and Cynthia Erivo is playing Emilia. So this is interesting. There are a couple standouts for me. This is very interesting that it's going to be a joint film production. I think that's wonderful. Um, you know, Barbara Broccoli moving on to doing other things besides James Bond. I think she's had varying. If you look at her filmography outside of the James Bond franchise, she has had varying degrees of success. And by judging from this article, it sounds like this is something that she feels very passionately about. David Oyelowo being I haven't seen the play, but I know the story. I didn't know that David Oyelowo played Othello. And I like him. He's one of my favorites right now. He was in that movie Selma with that where he played Martin Luther King Jr., which is great. That movie's great. And he's popped up every now and then. I mean, I love him in everything he does. He was even in the first Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise, and he was great in that. Rachel Brosnahan, obviously, I love from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and playing Lois Lane in the Superman movie. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Let's see. And Cynthia Erivo, man, she's a powerhouse. Oh my God. And I'll say this. I didn't. I loved the first Wicked movie. The second movie, Wicked for Good, has, I think, a few issues, a few problems. I didn't I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. It's a decent movie. It's a decent movie. Wicked for Good has a lot of issues for me personally. Cynthia Erivo ain't one of them. Cynthia Erivo is incredible in both those movies. She is a powerhouse. Um, and so her playing Emilia, I think that's going to be great. Rachel Brosnan playing Desdemona. You know, and again, this sounds like it's really going to be a joint venture passion project, and I love that. I love that. And Barbara Broccoli moving on to other things. You know, the cast from the play reprising their roles. This is I'm very, and I know the story, and there have been various film adaptations, and I think this could be really great. I think this could be really great. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on David Oyelowo and Barbara Broccoli doing Othello. All right. One more bit of news here, and it's something that I am very excited about. Oh my gosh. All right. So, for those who don't know, okay, first of all, so the original Exorcist movie that came out in 1973, directed by William Friedkin, is, I think, the greatest horror film ever made. Actually, that's a lie. I think it's tied with that and The Shining. I love The Exorcist so much. I'm a huge fan. And there was this there was this kind of, excuse me, there was this legacy sequel, what they call legacy sequel, that came out a few years back, called The Exorcist Believer. And it kind of, so the original Exorcist has 2 sequels, neither of which I have seen. And so The Exorcist Believer, which came out a few years back, was going to be similar to what they did with the Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween movies. It was going to completely negate the other sequels to The Exorcist. And The Exorcist Believer was going to serve as a direct sequel to the original Exorcist. The Exorcist Believer was going to be a sequel to the original Exorcist. And I look, and I say this as someone who loves the original Exorcist so passionately. I have heard nothing but bad things about Exorcist Believer. I cannot even bring myself to watch it because I feel so passionately about the original Exorcist. It got brutal reviews from both audiences and critics, and it completely financially bombed at the box office. There were going to be 2 more movies, so it was going to be this Exorcist quadrilogy, 4 movies. But the financial disaster, the critical and financial disaster of Exorcist Believer, stopped all that dead in its tracks. Now, in May of Um, let me see here. I want to get my information correctly. Um, I think in May of 2024. Okay, so there's a director by the name of Mike Flanagan who has made several adaptations of Stephen King novels. Um, Most notably, he directed the sequel to the Shining movie. He directed this movie called Doctor Sleep, the movie kind of serves as a sequel to both the novel and the movie of The Shining. Um, and Mike Flanagan directed the film adaptation of Doctor Sleep, and it's great. It's great. Like if you think of what a sequel to The Shining should be, Doctor Sleep is the perfect logical sequel to The Shining. Doctor Sleep is great. It has Ewan McGregor as as an older Danny Torrance, and I that movie deserved to do better at the box office. Doctor Sleep. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. It's great. So Mike Flanagan directed that. So, um, in May of 2024, um, it was announced that Mike Flanagan who directed Doctor Sleep. It was May of 2024. It was announced that Mike Flanagan was going to direct a new Exorcist movie. But it would not be a sequel or a continuation of any prior Exorcist movies. It was going to be, what did they say here? It was going to be an all new. It's going to be an all new story set in the Exorcist universe. That's what it says. So Mike Flanagan is going to direct an Exorcist movie that has no prior connections to any other Exorcist movies. It's going to be an all new story in that universe. And I lit up with joy when I heard that because of what Mike Flanagan did with Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep is incredible. And when I heard that Mike Flanagan was going to direct an Exorcist movie, I was like, fuck yeah, that's going to be so cool. That's going to be so awesome. So, there has been major casting news regarding Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie. This article is on CBR, published by Monica Coman. And a little ways down here, it says, per Deadline, Scarlett Johansson has just scored a lead role in Mike Flanagan's upcoming The Exorcist reboot. This article goes on to say, Mike Flanagan's Exorcist film was announced in May of 2024 with Blumhouse Productions and Morgan Creek attached. Johansson's casting is the first official name attached to the project. Mike Flanagan says, The Exorcist is one of the reasons I became a filmmaker, and it is an honor to have the chance to try something fresh, bold, and terrifying within its universe, the filmmaker said at the time. This article also says, also points out that this will be Scarlett Johansson's real, first true horror movie. I mean, she was in that movie Under the Skin, which is kind of a blend of multiple genres, but this is going to be, as far as straightforward horror goes, this will be Scarlett Johansson's first true horror movie. And I love this. I love this so much. It's certainly going to, with an actress, look, it goes without saying, Scarlett Johansson is completely gorgeous. But she's also, in my mind, an Oscar caliber actress. And I really mean that. She's phenomenal. She's a powerhouse, and she's a movie star, and you know, hold on just a second. I want to make sure. Yeah, she did. So if any of you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, which was directed by Taika Waititi, it's incredible, and she's phenomenal in that movie. She was nominated for an Oscar for Jojo Rabbit, and then she was in one of the few Netflix original movies that I have seen that I think are actually good. She did this movie with Adam Driver called Marriage Story, and that movie is very emotional to watch, and a big reason why it's so emotional to watch is because of the performances. And Scarlett Johansson is brilliant in that movie. Scarlett Johansson has been one of my favorite actresses for a long time. Again, she's completely gorgeous, but I think she's also incredibly talented. And I like the fact that she's doing a horror movie. I mean, again, she kind of did a genre bending movie with that movie Under the Skin. She's wonderful, and I love the fact. I mean, her being the lead in I believe she's playing the lead, but her being in this movie is definitely going to put some butts in seats. That's for sure. And it seems like she is going to be tackling a lot of franchises lately. Like, she was in Jurassic World Rebirth, which, to be honest with you, I haven't even seen because I heard it wasn't very good, and I haven't enjoyed the last two. So I was like, I can't take a third bad Jurassic movie. I just can't. But and I think she's going to be doing a movie with Tom Cruise soon. I mean, it goes without saying, she's a workhorse, man. Like, I love Scarlett Johansson. Oscar, what's the movie that she did with Bill Murray? Lost in Translation. She's incredible. And I love. I want to see this Exorcist movie, man. I really want to. I can't wait for this, and the fact that Scarlett Johansson is going to be in it. Oh God, like, I wonder what kind of role she's going to play. Man, I have theories. I don't know. I just I my jaw is metaphorically on the floor right now. Scarlett Johansson is going to be in a new Exorcist movie directed by Mike Flanagan. Holy shit. Um, I can't wait to see what this movie is. Like I said, Scarlett Johansson is one of my favorite actresses. She has been for a long time. Um, even uh, um, but yeah, I I want to I'm just envisioning horrific things happening in this movie, and what it's going to be entailed, and Scarlett Johansson just screaming, and all this bad shit happening. And anyway, yeah, so Scarlett Johansson is going to be in this movie. I can't wait for this movie. And again, it's one of those things. I think it's nice to see Scarlett Johansson branching out and doing. I mean, she's done everything, every kind of movie you could possibly imagine. I mean, she's done the Horse Whisperer. She did Under the Skin. She did the Marvel stuff. She's done the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Now she's doing horror with The Exorcist. I mean, she's lately. She's you know at by the end of her career, she's going to have quite a legacy, I think. She's done everything under the sun, and um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to this. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Scarlett Johansson being cast in Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie. What do you guys think about that? All right, well, that will about do it for today's episode. I think I'm probably only going to do one today. Um, and celebrate New Year's with my family. But I will be back next week. So there's that. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. And as always, if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you want to get my thoughts and opinions about anything in the entertainment world, I will do my best to give them. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you continue to enjoy the show. And until next time, I will see you at the movies.